Officer spits on black man, then his new boss walks in. Before we dive in, kindly hit the subscribe button and let us know where you're watching from in the comments. It was a humid afternoon in the heart of the city, where the air carried tension heavier than the heat. Lucas Williams had just finished his 12-hour shift at the warehouse, his back sore, his hands blistered, and his spirit weighed down. But he carried himself with the quiet dignity of a man who knew struggle wasn't new, it was a part of his bloodline. As he walked down Main Street, his uniform shirt damp with sweat, he only wanted to get home to his daughter, who waited for him with a smile that always gave him strength. But trouble doesn't ask permission to arrive. From across the street, flashing red and blue lights pulled up beside Lucas. Out stepped Officer Daniels, a man known in the neighborhood for cruelty disguised as law enforcement. Daniels didn't patrol these streets to protect, he came to provoke. His gaze swept over Lucas, slow and judgmental, as though Lucas's very existence was a crime. "Where you coming from, boy?" Daniels barked, his tone sharp like a whip. Lucas swallowed his frustration. He knew better than to rise to the bait. "Just off work, officer. Heading home." Daniels smirked, stepping closer, his hand resting on his holster. He circled Lucas like a predator circling prey. "Funny, a man like you, walking around here, pockets full, tired look on your face, looks more like you just robbed somebody." Lucas clenched his fists at his sides but kept his voice calm. "That's not the case. You can check, I've got nothing to hide." But Daniels wasn't interested in truth. He wanted humiliation. He wanted power. And with one sudden, vile motion, he spit in Lucas's face. The world seemed to freeze. The spit slid down Lucas's cheek like fire, burning not his skin, but his soul. Around them, people stopped and stared, their eyes wide with shock, their mouths hanging open. A mother grabbed her son's hand tighter, pulling him away from the ugliness unfolding. Lucas's chest rose and fell, his body trembling with the war inside him, the urge to fight back, and the instinct to survive. He wiped his face slowly, staring at the ground, refusing to give Daniels the satisfaction of seeing him break. But Daniels wasn't finished. "That's all you are," he sneered. "A dog waiting for orders. You better remember who runs this city." The crowd murmured, uneasy, but no one dared intervene. Justice felt far away. And then, the sound of clicking heels echoed against the pavement. From behind the gathering crowd, a tall woman emerged, her presence cutting through the tension like a blade. She was dressed sharply in a navy blue suit, her eyes keen, her posture regal. The crowd parted as she walked, as though they already knew power followed her steps. Daniels turned, annoyed at the interruption. "Ma'am, this is police business. Step back." But she didn't step back. She stepped forward. Her eyes fell on Lucas, then rose slowly to meet Danielle's glare. Her lips curled into a cold, deliberate smile. "Officer Daniels," she said, her voice calm but commanding, the kind of tone that made even the boldest man hesitate. "Is this how you conduct yourself on duty?" Daniels scoffed, waving his hand dismissively. "And who exactly are you supposed to be?" The woman paused, letting the silence stretch until it became unbearable. Then she pulled a badge from her jacket pocket, polished and shining under the sun. "My name is Chief Monique Harris. As of this week, I'm your new commanding officer." The crowd gasped, and Lucas felt his heart jolt. Danielle's smirk vanished, his face draining of color. Chief Harris's eyes narrowed, her tone dropping like thunder. "I saw everything you just did. The abuse. The disrespect. The spit." She took a step closer, towering over him though she was smaller in stature. "You want to know who runs this city? Not you. Not your ego. Justice runs this city. And you just failed it." Daniels stumbled over his words, trying to explain, but the chief raised her hand to silence him. "Save it. As of this moment, you're suspended." Badge. Now. The officer froze, but her voice cracked like a whip again. Badge. With trembling hands, Daniels removed the badge from his chest, his jaw clenched tight, his humiliation now his own. The crowd erupted in murmurs, some clapping, others shaking their heads in disbelief. Lucas stood still, stunned, watching the tables turn before his eyes. For once, justice hadn't arrived late, it had walked in at the exact moment it was needed. Chief Harris turned to Lucas, her expression softening. "Sir, I apologize for what you just endured. No man should ever be treated that way. Not on my watch." Lucas swallowed hard, his voice caught in his throat. "Thank you, Chief. I didn't expect." She shook her head. "No thanks necessary. Just know this, people like Daniels thrive when good folks stay silent. But I didn't come here to stay silent." Lucas felt something shift inside him, a weight he'd carried for too long lifting, if only slightly. For once, the system hadn't looked away, it had stared the injustice in the face and struck back. But just as relief began to wash over him, a sound shattered the moment. From the edge of the street, a deep, mocking laugh echoed. The crowd turned, and out of the shadows stepped a man in plain clothes. His eyes glinted with something darker than Danielle's arrogance. This was menace, pure and unfiltered. "Chief Harris," the man called out, clapping slowly. "You think pulling one badge changes the game? You've got no idea who you're really up against." The chief stiffened, her eyes narrowing at him. Lucas felt his stomach knot. The man's tone carried the weight of secrets, of something far bigger than one corrupt officer. He leaned in, his voice low and threatening. "This city doesn't belong to justice. It belongs to us. And soon enough, you'll see just how deep this goes." The crowd fell into a fearful hush, the tension snapping back like a tightened rope. Lucas's chest tightened, and Chief Harris's hand hovered near her sidearm, not out of fear, but readiness. The struggle wasn't over. It had only begun. And with the echo of that sinister laugh still ringing in the air, the story closed, but not with peace. It ended on the edge of war. The city was still buzzing from what happened that afternoon. Word had spread fast, people whispered about how Officer Daniels had been stripped of his badge right there in the street, in front of everyone. For once, the system hadn't turned its back. But if justice had finally shown up, so had danger. Because the man who stepped out of the shadows that day, the one with that mocking laugh, he wasn't just some bystander. His presence carried weight, and his words carried warning. And Lucas Williams, he couldn't shake the sound of that laugh. It haunted him long after the crowd had gone home, long after the chief escorted him safely back to his building. He sat in his daughter's small bedroom that night, watching her sleep, listening to the soft hum of the fan. She looked so peaceful, her little curls spread across the pillow, her small chest rising and falling with ease. She didn't know the world was ready to swallow her father whole. Lucas promised himself, he'd protect her, no matter what. But deep down, he feared he was now tangled in something bigger than himself. Meanwhile, Chief Harris sat in her office, replaying the confrontation in her mind. The man in the shadows wasn't a stranger to her. No. She knew that face. His name was Victor Kane. On paper, he was just a businessman. But in the streets, everyone knew he pulled strings from the dark, using men like Daniels to keep his grip on the city. Corruption wasn't random, it had roots, and Kane's roots spread deep. That's why Chief Harris couldn't sleep that night. She stared at the files on her desk, her gut heavy with the truth. Taking Danielle's badge was just the first shot fired. What was coming next would be war. But Lucas didn't know any of this. Not yet. The next morning, Lucas woke to a knock at his door. He frowned, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. It was too early for company. When he opened the door, he froze. There, standing in the hallway, was none other than Officer Daniels. Except this time, He wasn't in uniform. His face looked harder, meaner, stripped of the fake authority of his badge. Lucas's pulse raced. "What do you want?" Daniel smirked, his eyes cold. "You think yesterday was a victory? You think Harris saved you? She embarrassed me. She humiliated me. And men like me, we don't forget." Lucas swallowed. "You're suspended. You can't come near me." Daniels cut him off, stepping closer. "You think a piece of paper stops me? Harris might run the station. But Kane?" His lips twisted into a sinister grin. "Kane runs the streets. And he says you need to be taught a lesson." Before Lucas could respond, Daniels shoved a folded piece of paper into his hand and walked away, his boots echoing against the hallway floor. Lucas's hands shook as he opened it. The note was short, written in jagged letters, "Stay quiet. Or your daughter pays." His breath caught. His knees nearly buckled. He stumbled back into his apartment, clutching the note like it was a piece of fire. His daughter stirred from the bedroom, calling softly, "Daddy." Lucas forced a smile as he tucked the paper away. "Go back to sleep, baby girl." But inside, terror clawed at him. That same day, Chief Harris summoned Lucas to her office. She could see the storm in his eyes the moment he walked in. "Something happened," she said flatly. Lucas nodded, his hands still trembling. He handed her the note. She read it, her jaw tightening. "Kane. You know him?" Lucas asked, his voice sharp with fear. Chief Harris leaned back, her gaze distant. "Know him?" "Lucas. Victor Kane's been poisoning this city for years. Cops like Daniels. They're his pawns. The spit, the threats, it's not just personal. It's a message. He wants you scared." "Well, it's working," Lucas burst out, his voice cracking. "He's threatening my daughter. My little girl, what am I supposed to do? I can't fight him." Chief Harris stood, her voice firm, unwavering. "No, Lucas. Alone, you can't. But together? Maybe we can." Lucas blinked, unsure whether to trust her. But Harris's eyes burned with something he hadn't seen in any officer before, conviction. She wasn't protecting her badge. She was protecting the people. Still, the fear gnawed at him. What if it's already too late? Before Harris could answer, her office phone rang. She picked it up, and her face went pale. When she hung up, her hands trembled for the first time since Lucas met her. "What?" Lucas demanded. "It's your daughter," Harris whispered. "She's missing." The world tilted under Lucas's feet. His heart stopped. His little girl, gone. Panic crashed over him like waves. He grabbed Harris's desk, his voice hoarse. "What do you mean missing?" "They took her, Lucas," Harris said, her voice breaking. "Kane took her." Lucas's knees buckled, and for a moment, the room spun. All he could see was his baby girl's face. All he could hear was her soft little laugh. And now she was in the hands of the very man who had declared war on them. Harris grabbed his shoulders, steadying him. "Listen to me. This is what Kane does. He thinks he's untouchable. He thinks fear will keep us quiet. But he doesn't know you. And he doesn't know me. We are not going to let him win." Lucas looked up, his face streaked with tears. His voice was barely a whisper. "Then tell me, what do we do?" Harris's eyes hardened into steel. "We go after him. But Lucas, if we step into Kane's world, there's no turning back. Are you ready for that?" Lucas wiped his face, his grief igniting into fury. For the first time in his life, the quiet man who had endured humiliation, who had swallowed spit and insults, stood tall. His voice was steady. "He has my daughter. I don't care what it takes. I'm ready." Chief Harris nodded slowly. Then it begins tonight. But even as those words left her lips, the sound of her office window shattering filled the room. A brick crashed onto the floor, wrapped in a piece of cloth. Lucas's heart jumped as Harris ripped the cloth away. On it was another note, written in the same jagged hand, "You want your daughter back? Come alone. Midnight. Pier 17. Or she disappears forever." Lucas's throat tightened, and Harris's fists clenched around the note. The trap had been set. The war Kane promised had arrived. And as midnight drew closer, one question hung heavy in the air: would Lucas walk into the lion's den to save his daughter, or was this the night the city lost him forever? The city was quiet that night, but it was the kind of quiet that pressed heavy against your chest, the calm before a storm. Midnight was creeping closer, and with every tick of the clock, Lucas's heartbeat grew louder in his ears. Pier 17. That's where Kane wanted him. That's where his little girl was being held. And that's where Lucas knew his life would either change forever, or end. Chief Harris paced the precinct, her jaw tight. She wanted to go with him, to storm the pier with backup, but Kane's note was clear: come alone. Disobey, and Lucas's daughter would vanish forever. Harris had been in law enforcement long enough to know one thing: when men like Kane set the rules, they weren't empty threats. But she also knew another truth: Lucas wasn't walking into this alone. Not if she had anything to do with it. Lucas drove through the city streets, the steering wheel slick under his palms. His mind flashed through memories: his daughter's first steps, her laughter when he pushed her on the swing, the way she'd cling to him when thunderstorms rattled the windows. She was all he had. And Kane thought he could take that away. Not tonight. When Lucas pulled up to the pier, the air smelled of salt and rust. Shadows stretched across the wooden planks, and the water slapped against the posts with an eerie rhythm. In the distance, a single light glowed inside a warehouse. He stepped out of the car, his legs trembling but his resolve hard. He pushed the door open and walked inside. And there she was. His daughter, tied to a chair in the center of the room, a gag over her mouth, her small body shaking. Lucas's heart stopped. "Baby girl," he cried, rushing forward. But before he could reach her, a figure stepped from the shadows. Victor Kane. His smile was sharp as broken glass. "Welcome, Lucas," he drawled. "Right on time. I respect a man who knows how to follow instructions." Lucas's fists tightened. "Let her go." Kane chuckled, pacing in a slow circle. "See, that's where you misunderstand. This isn't about her. This is about you. You embarrassed my man Daniels. You embarrassed me. And in this city, embarrassment has a price." Lucas's voice cracked with fury. "Take it out on me then. Not her." Kane tilted his head, amused. "Oh, don't worry. I plan to." He snapped his fingers, and from the corners of the warehouse, 4 men emerged, big, broad, their faces hidden under hoods. Lucas's stomach dropped. He was outnumbered, unarmed, and trapped. But then, another voice cut through the darkness. "That's enough, Kane." The men froze, and Kane's smirk faltered. From the doorway, Chief Harris strode in, her gun drawn, her badge gleaming under the warehouse lights. "I warned you," she said coldly. "This city doesn't belong to you anymore." Kane's laughter filled the warehouse, low and mocking. "Monique Harris, you really think one badge and one gun are enough to bring me down? You have no idea how deep my roots go." But Harris didn't flinch. "Maybe not. But I know one thing: your time is running out." The standoff was electric. Kane's men tightened their fists. Harris's finger hovered on the trigger. Lucas's daughter whimpered softly, her wide eyes darting from face to face. And then, it exploded. One of Kane's men lunged forward. Harris fired. The bullet ripped through the air, shattering the silence. Chaos erupted. Lucas dove toward his daughter, ripping the gag from her mouth, his body shielding hers as fists and bullets flew. He'd never fought like this before. Every punch he threw, every ounce of strength he summoned, it wasn't for himself. It was for her. For his little girl. Harris held her own, moving with precision, taking down 2 men with shots to the leg. But there were too many. Kane's men swarmed her, knocking the gun from her hand, dragging her down. Lucas roared, slamming one man into a wall, his knuckles split and bleeding. He grabbed his daughter's hand. "Run, baby, run." But Kane blocked the exit. His gun pointed at Lucas's chest. His smile was gone now, replaced by cold rage. "You just don't get it, do you?" Kane hissed. "This isn't about you winning. This is about me proving that no matter what you do, I own this city." Lucas's breath came in ragged gasps, but his eyes burned with fire. "Not tonight." Before Kane could pull the trigger, Harris surged from the ground, tackling him with the force of a storm. The gun clattered across the floor. Lucas dove for it, his fingers closing around the cold steel. He turned, the weapon shaking in his hand, aimed straight at Kane. The room froze. Harris pinned Kane to the ground, blood dripping from her lip. Kane stared up at Lucas, unafraid, almost taunting. "Go ahead," Kane sneered. "Pull the trigger. Prove you're just like me." Lucas's finger hovered on the trigger, his chest heaving, his daughter crying out behind him. Every muscle in his body screamed for revenge. But Harris's voice cut through the fog. "Lucas, don't. That's what he wants. He wants you to lose yourself." Tears blurred Lucas's vision. His hand shook harder. All the humiliation, all the threats, all the spit and pain and fear, it all screamed for this one shot. But before he could decide, the warehouse doors burst open. A dozen men stormed in, armed, faces covered. Not police. Not Kane's usual crew. Something else. Their leader stepped forward, pulling off his mask. Lucas's blood ran cold. It was Officer Daniels. Except now, he wasn't wearing any badge at all. He was wearing Kane's colors. Daniels smirked, his eyes glinting with venom. "Surprised to see me, Lucas? You thought losing my badge was the end? No. That was just the beginning." Harris's face drained of color. Lucas's daughter clung to his leg, trembling. Kane's smirk returned as Daniels pulled a gun and pointed it at Lucas's head. "You should have finished me when you had the chance," Daniels spat. "Now. You and your boss here, you both go down tonight." The air thickened, the walls of the warehouse closing in. Lucas held the gun, Daniels aimed his, Kane laughed on the floor, and Harris's eyes darted, calculating the impossible. And just as the trigger clicked, the lights went out. Darkness swallowed everything. A scream tore through the black. Darkness. That's all Lucas could see when the lights cut out in the warehouse. His ears rang with the echo of a gun clicking, the scream that followed, and the frantic shuffle of bodies. The smell of saltwater mixed with gunpowder, sweat, and fear. His daughter's tiny hand squeezed his leg, her tremble telling him everything words couldn't. "Daddy," she whimpered. "Stay down, baby," Lucas whispered, his voice shaking. His eyes darted, desperate for light, desperate for anything to give him an advantage. Then, crack. A single bulb flickered on, dangling from the ceiling. It cast a dim, swinging glow over the chaos. And there they were. Chief Harris, bloodied but standing firm. Victor Kane, smirking even while pinned under the chief's weight. And Daniels, gun in hand, eyes burning with a hatred Lucas had never seen before. Behind him, his new crew spread out, their weapons aimed, waiting for orders. Daniels' voice sliced through the silence. "You humiliated me, Lucas. You and Harris took my badge, my pride. But now I get it back. Kane gave me a place, and tonight, I show him I'm loyal. Lucas tightened his grip on the gun in his hand, though it shook violently. He wasn't a man of violence. He wasn't trained for this world. But Daniels had made one mistake: he threatened Lucas's daughter. And that was a line no man could cross without consequence. Let her go, Lucas growled, his voice low but fierce. Daniels laughed, cruel and sharp. Or what? You'll shoot me? Please. You don't have it in you. Kane, still pinned beneath Harris, chuckled. He's right, Lucas. Men like you. You're built to obey. Not to fight. You think holding that gun makes you powerful? It just makes you desperate. Lucas's chest heaved. His past flashed before him, every time he'd been underestimated, every time he'd been spit on, shoved aside, treated like less than human. The weight of those moments pressed down on him. And for the first time, something inside him snapped. His voice roared across the warehouse, I'm not desperate. I'm done. The sound of his fury shook even Kane's smugness. Before Daniels could react, Chief Harris made her move. With the strength of a soldier, she slammed Kane's head against the concrete floor, dazing him, then rolled, grabbing the gun from the ground. Drop your weapons, she barked at Daniels's crew. Her tone wasn't just a command, it was law. But Daniels smirked, raising his weapon higher. They don't take orders from you anymore. He tilted his gun at Lucas's daughter. And if he doesn't drop his gun right now, she's gone. Lucas's blood froze. His daughter whimpered, clutching him tighter. Harris's eyes darted to Lucas. For a split second, everything slowed, the sound of the waves outside, the groan of the old warehouse beams, Lucas's trembling breath. This was it. The breaking point. Lucas looked at his daughter, then at Daniels, then back at Harris. His voice steadied. You want me to drop the gun? Fine. He slowly lowered the weapon to the floor. Daniels grinned, stepping closer, confident in his victory. But Lucas wasn't finished. In a single motion, Lucas slid the gun across the floor, straight to Chief Harris. Daniels's smirk shattered as Harris caught it, spun, and fired. The bullet ripped through the air, striking Daniels square in the shoulder. He dropped his gun with a scream of rage. Chaos erupted. Harris fired again, dropping another of Daniels's men. Lucas grabbed a broken pipe from the ground and swung it with every ounce of strength he had, knocking a third man to the floor. His daughter scrambled behind a stack of crates, safe for the moment. Daniels, clutching his bleeding shoulder, roared. Kill them all. But Kane, still pinned to the floor, laughed hysterically. See? This is what I told you, Daniels. You were never in control. You think you're the boss. You're just another pawn. Daniels's face twisted in fury. Shut up. He lunged at Kane, hands tightening around his throat. The betrayal stunned everyone for a split second. Kane's men hesitated. The so-called alliance fractured before their eyes. Chief Harris seized the opening. She fired another shot into the air, her voice thundering, It's over. Drop your weapons now, or you all go down. For the first time, Kane's men wavered. Some dropped their guns. Others backed away. The tide was turning. Lucas staggered forward, gripping Daniels by the collar, yanking him off Kane. His voice shook with rage. You threatened my daughter. You spit in my face. You thought I'd break. But look at me, Daniels. I'm still standing. Daniels sneered, blood staining his teeth. You'll regret this, Johnson. You think tonight is victory? This city doesn't change. Men like me, we always come back. Lucas's eyes burned. Not if we finish this right. He raised the pipe again, his muscles tensing. His daughter's voice echoed from behind the crates, "Daddy, no." The sound pierced him. His grip loosened. He lowered the pipe, trembling. He wouldn't become the monster he despised. Harris moved in, cuffing Daniels with swift, precise hands. "Lucas, you did enough. Justice finishes the job." The warehouse filled with silence. The fight was over. Lucas's daughter ran to him, leaping into his arms, her tears soaking his shirt. He held her tight, breathing her in, knowing she was safe at last. Chief Harris stood tall, Daniels cuffed at her feet, Kane groaning in defeat. For the first time, it seemed like justice had truly won. But just as relief washed over Lucas, the sound of clapping echoed through the warehouse. Slow. Mocking. Cold. From the shadows of the upper walkway, another figure emerged. Broad-shouldered, sharp-eyed, dressed in a suit cleaner than the filth of the warehouse around him. His voice was smooth, commanding, dripping with menace. "Well, well," he said, his hands still clapping. "I must admit, that was entertaining. But you've only been fighting the small players. Kane. Daniels. They're nothing but tools. The real power." He smiled, his teeth gleaming under the single flickering bulb. "You haven't even touched it yet." Chief Harris froze. Lucas's arms tightened around his daughter. Kane, bloody and broken, looked up at the man in fear. For the first time, Kane had no smirk. Lucas whispered, his voice trembling. Who is he?" Harris's face hardened like stone. "That's Raymond Cole. The man who really runs this city." Cole spread his arms wide, as though he were welcoming them to his stage. "Congratulations. You survived the warm-up. But now, the real game begins." The bulb above them flickered again, then shattered. Darkness fell. And the war for the soul of the city was far from over.